Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
You're watching South Asia NEWSLINE and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 8th of April. Rubio, Jaishankar discuss trade balance amid Trump tariff threats. Thousands of Afghans deported as Pakistan intensifies crackdown. And Sri Lankan President defends India Defence Pact as formalizing existing ties. And now for all the details. The United States and India are working to strengthen their economic ties, a statement said as the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar held talks on Monday to address tariffs and advance a fair and balanced trade relationship. In a statement, US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said both leaders during the telephonic conversation affirmed the strength of the US-India strategic partnership and discussed opportunities to deepen collaboration in the Indo-Pacific region. They also discussed US reciprocal tariffs on India and how to make progress towards a fair and balanced trade relationship, statement added. Jaishankar in a post on X also emphasized the shared commitment to a swift resolution and said they agreed on the importance of the early conclusion of the bilateral trade agreement. The call follows Trump's announcement last week of a proposed 10% baseline tariff on all US imports, with higher duties up to 26% targeted at major trading partners including India. The policy aimed at boosting domestic manufacturing has sparked concerns about potential trade wars and economic fallout. However, India has signaled it will not retaliate against the US tariffs, with an Indian government official stating on Sunday that New Delhi is prioritizing ongoing negotiations for a bilateral trade deal. And in a major setback to Pakistani origin Canadian businessman Tahavvur Rana, who is wanted by India for his involvement in the 2008 Mumbai terror attack, the US Supreme Court has denied his application seeking a stay on his extradition to India. The US top court's decision has cleared the way for Rana to be brought back to India to face charges. 64-year-old Rana had renewed his emergency application last month after his plea was rejected earlier. He had cited health concerns and fears of torture in his plea, which was scheduled on 4th April. On Monday, the Supreme Court website posted a notice saying application denied by the court. India has been pushing for Rana's extradition for several years. India had issued a warrant for his arrest in August 2018. In a significant development, during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the US in February this year, President Donald Trump had announced the extradition, saying that Rana would face justice. And thousands of Afghan refugees are being deported from Pakistan as a crackdown intensifies, leaving families torn apart and sparking UN warnings of human rights violations. At the Torkham border, scenes of despair unfold as many face an uncertain return to the homeland they barely know. A report.
Thousands of Afghan refugees continue to stream across the Torkham border on Monday after Pakistan intensified its deportation campaign, forcing undocumented Afghans to leave the country, many of whom had lived there for decades. Refugees lament the high-handed approach as they describe the distressing circumstances they faced. At the border, refugee tents lined the area and trucks loaded with possessions waited to cross into Afghanistan. Children watched from inside vans or stood atop trucks, witnessing their families' displacement. For many of these deportees who fled Afghanistan years ago, returning to a country they hardly recognize presents an uncertain future.
गाड़ी में बया लोड को ब्यावर अगलम दोबारा ताने था से गाड़ी में लोड कर लेदा बेलचेर रवानी माल अफगानिस्तान ता रवानी वाइजा अफगानिस्तान ता जलाल सरा او ځامن به دې شاته موږ هغه که پرچې پرې کار شوي دي او دا به ریپورټ کړو او دا به شاته درپسې درولېږو چې هر څه وزر مرتب کوو یې نه منم.
تقریبا 10-15 کاله ما پاکستان کې زندگی تیره کړې ده. نو وروره جانه پاکستان دا کوشش کوي چې موږ د غټو غټو تجارانو څخه هغه استفاده اخلي او کم غریب غربت چې دی هغه نیسي په جیلو یې نه باسي. زما خپله 2-3 بچي په جیل کې د ما سره ځوانان مړندې ځان سره ویستلي دي. وروره په جیلې کې د ما سره خلک یې دغه که زما زامن ته اوس حالت دي. ډېر مسلمانانو سره ظلمونه سخت ظلم روان دی.
The crackdown, which intensified following a March directive from Pakistan's Interior Ministry, has sparked widespread criticism over human rights concerns. UN experts have said millions of Afghans who have been pushed back to Afghanistan without regard for their genuine protection concerns are at risk of gender-based violence, and the systematic dismantling of the rights of women and girls is violation of international human rights law. However, Islamabad linked Afghan migrants to security concerns, blaming them for militant attacks and crimes, a claim rejected by Kabul.
Moving on, students in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir are rising against injustice. From fee hikes to police crackdowns, their voices are uniting under new student action committees. We have a report.
Students from universities and degree colleges across Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir have come together to form student action committees, citing rising harassment, fee hikes, and the lack of basic facilities as key issues. The movement has gained momentum following the recent incident at the University of Muzaffarabad, where police were accused of using excessive force against protesting students.
वो जिस तरह जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी है उसके मेंबर्स हैं हर ज़िले से हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट से, उसी तरह जो तलबा एक्शन कमेटी है इसकी भी एक जॉइंट अवामी एक्शन कमेटी होगी जिसमें तमाम जामियात के नुमाइंदगान बैठेंगे. इसका बेसिकली मकसद और ज़रूरत क्यों पेश आई कि आप देखें यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में तलबा पर यानी पुलिस कर दी और उस्ताज़ा की तरफ से भी इसी तरह प्रेशराइज़ किया जाता है चूँकि तो यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में सेमेस्टर सिस्टम होता है. आप देखें जिस टाइम इलेक्शन तलबा यूनियंस के इलेक्शन होते थे तलबा को हर जो है वो बजट बनता था या जितना भी बजट आता था पैसे आते थे हर चीज़ में तलबा को साथ लेके चला जाता था. अब फीसों में इतनी हमारी फ़ीसें बढ़ा दी गई हैं उसकी वजह क्या है हमें नहीं पता. करप्शन यूनिवर्सिटियों में इतनी हो रही है हमें नहीं पता वो पैसा किधर जा रहा है HEC से या फिर अगर गवर्नमेंट से आ रहा है जा किधर रहा है. दिन ब दिन हमारी फ़ीसों में इजाफा किया जा रहा है. जो गरीब तबके के लोग हैं वो यानी अब बहुत मुश्किल है कि यूनिवर्सिटियों में तालीम हासिल कर सकें.
The movement signals a renewed push for student empowerment in the occupied region. Students say their struggle is not just against administrative injustice, but also against the broader oppression they face under Pakistan's illegal occupation.
Moving on, Bangladesh interim head Mohammad Yunus has written to US President Donald Trump requesting a 3-month pause on a 37% tariff on Bangladeshi imports, warning of its impact on exporters, particularly in the garment sector. In the letter, Yunus highlighted steps taken to boost US trade ties, including a deal to import American LNG and plans to expand imports of US cotton, wheat, corn and soybeans. He noted reforms to cut non-tariff barriers and said Bangladesh offers the lowest tariffs on US exports in South Asia. Yunus said Bangladesh moved to approve the use of billionaire Trump aide Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet network was a signal of readiness to welcome more US investment in high-tech sectors, including civil aviation and defense. Bangladesh will take all necessary actions to fully support your trade agenda, Yunus told Trump. And days after India and Sri Lanka signed a historic defense pact, Sri Lanka's president has said it formalizes existing ties rather than marking a radical shift in policy. During an event in Galle on Monday, Anura Kumara Dissanayake emphasized that the agreement builds on ongoing defense activities with India and added that the pact simply streamlines and formalizes these efforts. He said we require support from more advanced countries to ensure protection and move forward. The pact includes provisions for joint military exercises, training of Sri Lankan personnel in India, and enhanced maritime security collaboration, steps India views as vital to countering China's influence in the Indian Ocean. The comments come after a political party raised concern over the agreement. The Frontline Socialist Party, a breakaway fraction of Dissanayke's JVP, has alleged the pact will hamper the island nation's autonomy. The Communist Party said the defence agreement will entangle Sri Lanka in a geopolitical struggle between India, US and China for dominance in the Indian Ocean. The agreement was one of 7 MOUs inked during PM Modi's visit, which also covered energy cooperation and economic assistance. The Indian Prime Minister had praised Dissanayake for his sensitivity towards India's interest, highlighting that the pacts align with its India's neighbourhood first policy. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.
Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.